All right, here we go. We're here to react to the race that just finished up at Iowa Speedway for the NASCAR Cup Series, the Iowa Corn 350, won by Ty Gibbs. A bit of a surprise to me. Looked like early on it was going to be a Penske show. You had Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano up front for quite a bit of the early portion of the race. But in the end, you had JGR cars once again, Ty Gibbs and Christopher Bell finishing 1-2, Toyota continuing to win races. What a shock, right? But yeah, I mean, what a great race. I thought it was fantastic all the way around. I mean, you had a bit of a lull kind of after stage 2, or maybe even a little before that. Things had kind of started to settle down after quite a bit of action early. I mean, the race started off with a bang with Tyler Reddick crashing out with a very loose race car, just lost the back end. It was like on lap 4, loses it in turn 1, and Eric Jones is there, and they crash both of those guys out of the race. And Tyler Reddick, man, I mean, the guy started on fire this season, winning, 5 of the first 9 races. And it was like, man, this is Tyler Reddick's championship to lose. There's no way anybody's going to catch him leading up to the chase. Of course, we've seen over the course of many weeks how Denny Hamlin was able to catch back up and take the lead, and ever since then has pulled away even further. And with today, Denny Hamlin now has a 103-point lead over now Ty Gibbs in second place. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Man, Tyler Reddick, though, what a string of bad luck that he has been on. We'll talk more about that here in a little bit. One thing or a couple things I want to point out here with our layout, as you can already see, we do have a ticker running at the bottom underneath my camera showing the finishing order of the race, and that'll continue scrolling throughout the stream. And on the right hand side, we have the current point standings as they show from I believe Racing Insights. There's one discrepancy you might notice. So the win badge, Ty Gibbs obviously with 2 wins now. I guess that hasn't been updated, but no big deal. Points are updated on the screen. But back to Tyler Reddick, man, he went from having just incredible momentum to start the season. Nothing could go wrong for the guy. He couldn't do any wrong. And then all of a sudden he's had so many bad finishes. In the last 9 races, he has 6 finishes of 25th or worse, including a 35th at Michigan, a 36th at Sonoma, 36th at Chicagoland, a 30th at North Wilkesboro, and now a 36th place finish today in Iowa, last place. And because it happened so early, that also meant no stage points. So huge loss in points for Reddick. He now tumbles to 4th in points. All day long, it looked like Blaney was going to be the one taking over to be second in points, but as we now see, Ty Gibbs is second in points, 103 back from Denny Hamlin. But positions 2 through 4 are still very tight, so second place to start the chase is up for grabs. I mean, yeah, theoretically, someone could still make up a lot of ground on Denny Hamlin. That's probably not going to happen. I mean, I know we said that with Tyler Reddick, and then look what happened. But Denny Hamlin's just running so well this year, and even on a day today when he did not have a great car, he was having brake problems all day, all weekend. He still managed to pull out. What did he finish? 5th. He finished 5th today. So even his bad days are so good So I just don't think that he's going to relinquish that points lead going into the chase. So really the fight is for second through fourth. And then from there, you have a bit bigger gap for to fifth place, which is now Chase Briscoe. But even from fifth to about 10th with Kyle Larson, that's pretty tight as well. So those spots are not settled by any means. It seemed like today was just a pretty treacherous race, or the track anyways. There was a lot of loose race cars, which of course evident by Tyler Reddick's early wreck, but there was so many loose race cars. I think we had SVG also spin out at one point. There was a couple other guys just having a lot of trouble with the handling, which is great. That's what I love to see. When you see drivers really struggling to drive the cars, that's going to make for better racing, because then people can pass. And also drivers that are like just really good at handling a car, manhandling a car, they're going to start moving to the front. And I think we saw that a few different times today, where you had some guys that might have been a bit of a surprise at points in the race. I think AJ Allmendinger at one point was all the way up to like 7th in the race. That man can wheel a car. And whenever you have cars that are out of control, well, the drivers, again, that can drive those out of control cars, they're going to show up near the front. So that was good to see. You had a lot of guys looking good early on that might have been a little unexpected, just given how their seasons have gone. Connor Zilic, Austin Dillon, Ross Chastain all started in the top 10. And I know Zilic ended up finishing 11th. Chastain was 7th. And Austin Dillon finished 10th. So they started well. They ended pretty well. And even AJ Allmendinger, I mentioned him a second ago, he finished 8th. Just great days for those guys. William Byron with a 9th place finish. That's been needed from that group. Actually, I skipped over Josh Berry. Josh Berry with a tremendous run, 4th place. You know, this looked like it was going to be a Ford weekend. I mean, Ford showed up fast in qualifying. And as we know, at these shorter tracks, Penske in general is going to be fast. And that was true today. And it looked like it might be a Penske show, again, with Blaney and Logano at the front early, but some different circumstances shuffled them back at different points in the race. And again, ultimately Toyota ended up winning, but no surprise, Ford did look good at this track, as they always do at short tracks, which, funny enough, I heard a lot of conversation leading up to this week about Iowa, and is it a short track? I'd like to know what you guys think. Do you guys think Iowa is a short track? I believe it was Dale Jr. I heard earlier in the week on his podcast saying that a short track is half a mile or smaller. Iowa, I think, is 7/8. So in his mind, not a short track. I tend to think it's more a mile or under a mile. But my real barometer, to be honest with you, is if Penske's good and it's under a mile, you could probably consider a short track, because that's pretty much where they're the best, is short tracks, and they're not really that great anywhere else. I know that's probably a cop-out, and that's probably not really a good reason to say Iowa is a short track, but to me, that stands out. Penske shines at the short tracks. They don't really shine much anywhere else outside of maybe super speedways, and Iowa obviously is not a super speedway. So the fact they showed up here at Iowa real fast, Penske and Wood Brothers, which is Penske affiliate, and then Fords in general, yeah, short track to me. That's where they're good. So as usual, Fords looked good. Blaney led the entire first stage. So at that point in time, I'm thinking, Blaney's just going to run away with this one. But circumstances shuffled him back, I think, once or twice. And we'll get into that as we continue discussing, I want to take a step back and just kind of give you guys an idea of where I'm coming from with this race reaction. I am obviously not a member of the media. I'm not in the industry in any shape or form. I don't even go to the racetrack. I used to go to races a long time ago, but it got too expensive. So I haven't been, gosh, it's probably easily been 15 plus years since I've been to the racetrack. So I'm just a regular guy watching the race from his couch, watching the regular broadcast that most people see. I'm not even looking at any of the extra stuff that they have these days we had a couple other guys I wanted to talk about today. Kyle Larson, man, still just having trouble getting finishes. He looked really good early. Gotten into an incident later on in the race when he was 4 wide with John Hunter Nemechek and some others, and ended up wrecking himself and his teammate Alex Bowman. I'm not even sure where he finished. Let's check that out here real quick. Kyle Larson finished 33rd. Man, he's one of those guys like Reddick who's just been in the 30s a lot lately. I heard a really inch shot to win the championship. I thought for a little bit today Logano was going to do Logano things and really like start creeping up even closer to that top 10. And he still might with some other short tracks coming up here and then also Daytona where he runs well. I'm telling you, man, they keep letting Logano hang around. I can't stand the fact that he does this all the time where he just kind of moseys around throughout most of the season. And then like towards the back half of the season, he just starts coming on. And then there he is running for a championship. It's a little different, obviously, this year with the chase. I don't know that he can pull off that kind of miracle from where he sits right now in 13th. But again, he's hanging around. I thought for a while he was going to gain a lot more points. He was up front with Blaney a lot today. He ended up fading down the stretch a bit after a problem on pit road with a tire that wasn't tightened up before he left. So he didn't quite get the finish indicative of where he was running all day. He finished a second in both stages, I believe, and then ultimately finished 14th in the race. But he's still hanging around. So, they just need to watch out for him. Let's see what we got here. I'm just checking my notes. So we had at the cut line, it's getting a little interesting. Shane Van Gisbergen and Austin Cindric, they're both kind of hanging around there near each other in the race and also at the cut line. Austin Cindric did not run great today. Shane did not run great today. Shane even spun out at one point in the race, but they are still currently in the chase. But man, it's not by much. I keep thinking Shane is pulling away enough from the cut line to be safe, but then he has days like today where he gives back a lot of points. So he's currently only 47 points to the good. Cindric, though, only 29 points to the good. But the other side of that is the guys that are below the cut line, most of them are not doing enough to knock those guys out. Right now, the first 4 out, we have Ryan Preece at 29 points out, Ross Chastain at 47 points out, which he's actually making some gains after saying there's no way he's going to get in the chase. You have Brad Keselowski at minus 48 to the cut, and Eric Jones, again, we talked about his issues early, minus 50 to the cut. Those guys, for the most part, have not shown enough to show that they can get in, although Chastain's run today is encouraging for him. Maybe he can make a push here with just a few races before the chase. And again, you can see the standings off to my right, showing that cut line and where drivers are respective to that cut. The top 4 have clinched, and then you can see where everyone else is above the cut line, and then the guys below, you can see how many points they are below the cut line. But I think right now, I would still feel pretty comfortable with the 16 that are currently showing as in the chase, still being those 16 in the chase. Cindric scares me a little bit, but again, we know Penske's good in general at the upcoming races, and also Daytona, where we know Austin Cindric has won at Daytona, being the Daytona 500 in his rookie season. Let's see some other drivers. Chase Elliott today, man, he's been on a slide as well the last several weeks. He's currently P7 in points. But at one point he was threatening to be, second, third, fourth in that range. And then he's just kind of slowly tumbled here in the last couple of weeks. They didn't run well in practice. Then they also had a crash in practice. Didn't qualify very good. They tried to do some strategy throughout the day to get some track position, and it worked the first time. Got some really great track position. In fact, they were the only team to stay out on one of the pit cycles, or somewhere around, I think, lap 100. They stayed out. Tires didn't seem to fall off too much, so they were able to stay out. Some other guys took 2 tires, and so they were just trying to flip that strategy, and they held on pretty good for a while. Elliott led for a little bit, but then when it came time to pit again, they gave all that track position up that they had gained. They had an issue on the left front. I believe it wasn't tight, so they had to get that all tightened up, made for a really slow stop, and again, they lost all that track position after settling in the top 5, getting that track position that they got from the earlier pit strategy call. So really, really disappointing for those guys. And again, tumbling down the standings. And I will make no apologies that I'm a Chase Elliott fan. I'm sure that's a shock. A lot of people are Chase Elliott fans. So it really stinks to see him just kind of going on this slide. I keep thinking Hendrick Motorsports is going to turn it around, and we're going to see Chase and Kyle Larson battling for wins all the time, and William Byron, and maybe even Alex Bowman, but it just hasn't been happening yet. I know Chase had a couple wins earlier on in the season, the earliest in the season he's ever had a couple wins like that, but ever since then, it's just kind of been, just really ho-hum. He's been Mr. Consistent for a while, but right now he's been consistently sliding back. So they got to clean that up if they want to have any shot at the championship. And right now they're outside of that top 6. So again, if we say 6th is roughly that cutoff that someone can realistically win the championship from, he's outside of that right now, but only 2 points behind Christopher Bell, who's in 6th right now. Again, it's very tight between 5th and 10th, so anybody can be moving around still as we lead up to the start of the chase. We talked about Denny Hamlin. He had some ups and downs, actually a lot of downs really this weekend with brake issues, and his teammate Chase Briscoe as well also had brake issues. Don't really know what was up with that, but man, Hamlin, I don't know how many times we're going to say this, but you feel like it's his year. He's been so good. And even today, with a nil handling car, I watched a little bit of the post race, not a lot, but I did get to see his interview, and man, he was gassed. I know Denny Hamlin's getting up there in age in terms of, NASCAR. 45 is not old, but in terms of NASCAR drivers, that's pretty old. And he looked it after that race. He even said, man, if I had to drive a car like that every week, I'd retire at the end of this year. That's how hard it was for him to drive that car and still he earned that 5th place finish. And it's days like that where you're like, man, this has to be his year. This has to be his year. And I'm not the biggest Denny Hamlin fan in the world, but man, the guy's just he's a great talent, and he's done so much in the sport, done so much for the sport. You hate that a guy like that can't seem to win a championship. I know we've seen it before. Mark Martin, arguably or not arguably, he really is the greatest driver to never win a championship. But it's a similar story there where it's like, man, how could a guy like that, who's so good for the sport, he drives so well, so talented, can't seem to get over that hump and win the championship, and Hamlin's in that same boat. But I feel like it's his year. I think the chase, going back to a chase format, sets up really well for him, especially with the bonus points that he would get should he win the regular season, even though that's not really a thing anymore. But being the number 1 seed in the chase, which I think he will have, it'd be hard for him, I think, to lose 100 points here in the next few weeks. But again, it's happened to Reddick, so Reddick lost a lot of points, Hamlin gained a lot of points. So someone would also have to match. If Hamlin loses a bunch of points, they also have to gain. It works both ways. And I just don't see anyone better than Hamlin right now or this year. Even when Reddick was winning the races earlier in the season, you got to remember some of Reddick's wins. He was just right place, right time. He didn't really dominate anything in some of those wins. I mean, obviously he raced very well at Coda and Darlington, so those were, he really won those. But a couple of the others, he was just there at the right time. But Hamlin, I think it's his year, and today, races like today are just further proving why I think that's the case. Someone's going to have to take it. Someone's going to have to take it from Denny Hamlin. And we'll see. I mean, it could happen. We've seen guys before go on hot streaks at the end of the season. Again, not so much in the chase era or the full season points eras. That's more been the playoffs. The only guy to ever really mount a huge charge in the chase was Tony Stewart in 2011. So they didn't deserve to be there. And then he, rattles off 5 wins and wins the championship on a tiebreaker to Carl Edwards. It took a monstrous effort because, again, he actually tied Edwards, but he won on the tiebreaker. So it took a monstrous effort to win the chase that year. And I just don't think anybody's going to do that come chase time. So again, if you're not close to the lead, you're probably not going to get it. And the number 1 seed in the chase is going to start with 25 extra points over everyone else. So that's a pretty big deal. I mean, it's only about a third of a race. Like if someone were to max out points, because I think the max you can get is like 76 points in a race. So, I mean, it's about a third of a race, which is good. And as long as you don't have any like big oops races, you're probably going to be fine. But yeah, we saw a lot of fast Toyotas again today, even though they started near the back. Bubba Wallace, had a really fast car, and I thought at one point in time he was going to really contend for the win. But he sped on pit road in one of the late pit cycles. It was really strange. He was the leader, and when they come down pit road, they're all very tight, because you don't want to give anybody any advantage. And then all of a sudden, you just see Bubba Wallace's car slowly pull further away from Ryan Blaney, who was in second at the time. And then you could tell all of a sudden Bubba Wallace realized what was going on. He hit the brakes, and it was already too late. The damage was done. He had already been speeding in a section, and then he had to go towards the back. I don't really know where he ended up finishing 12th. So he ended up finishing 12th. So good comeback. He did finish a lap down, but I mean, there was only 10 cars on the lead lap by the end of it, which I'm actually surprised. I didn't realize there was so few cars on the lead lap by the end of the race. Wow, Chase Elliott actually finished 15th. I didn't realize because he just did not have a great car, but still a 15th place finish. So that's a Chase Elliott thing, though. That's just what he does. He bangs out top 20s like nothing. Wow. Did not realize that. Let's see. Other drivers of note. Just because we talk about him all the time in racing, Carson Hocevar, he had a horrible day. I couldn't really tell what was going on with him, but it sounded like there was some sort of engine issue maybe. I don't know that we ever really got much information on what was going on with his car. But nevertheless, he just had a horrible day, and he had been in discussions. I don't know if you could take him too seriously, but he had been in discussions of could he somehow shock everybody and win the championship. He was 4th in points not that long ago. I'm sorry, 5th in points. He was 5th in points coming in to this race. But his car he didn't have it today. Whatever engine problems or whatever it was that he was suffering with. I mean, they said he was still running pretty good lap times, so it was kind of an intermittent thing. But he ended up finishing 31st, behind SVG, and winds up tumbling down to 8th in points from 5th. But again, it's because that 5th through 10th battle is so tight. So just like Carson went from 5th to 8th today, that can easily happen to Briscoe, who's in 5th now, in a week's time. So nobody has their position locked yet. Not even Denny Hamlin, even though I still think that he's got the number 1 seed locked up. So we talked about Larson already. I don't know what more to say about that. There was one point in the race where JGR was 1, 2, 3, and that's when I started thinking to myself, here we go again. Toyota, we thought Ford. We thought it was a Ford day, and it looked like a Ford day in the beginning, but once again, Toyota, and they ended up winning the race as well. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Ty Gibbs in a little bit. I don't want to talk too little about the actual race winner, but I'm kind of just going through my notes of what I saw throughout the whole race, and I'm kind of just going in order. Again, William Byron had a great run. We talked about that already. Allmendinger, oh man, that's just crazy that Allmendinger, he seems to do this a lot this year, where he's churning out some good results, and not just good results, he's running not bad. And that's crazy because Kaulig, as I'm sure most people know, if you're tuning into the sport at all, Kaulig drives Chevy in the Cup Series, but they drive Ram in the Truck Series. And because of that Ram affiliation, they get absolutely no help from the Chevy manufacturer on the Cup side. So they're really on an island. And for them to be on an island, be a 2-car team with no help, the fact that AJ can just churn out these good results, like a 7th place finish, that's incredible. That just goes to show how talented a driver AJ Allmendinger really is. And it's a shame that, I don't think he ever really got the greatest of opportunities throughout his career. I know he had a run with Penske at one point back in the day. But really, I don't feel like he ever had the greatest, but couldn't stay up front towards the end. There was a new rule change put into place starting this week, regarding cautions that happen within 10 laps to go in a stage. That if a caution happens, another thing I want to talk about is, I think I mentioned SVG already. Just not a great day. I keep thinking he's going to be safe, but I'm just not sure at this point. I want him to be safe. I'm a huge SVG fan, in the sense that, because again, I'm a Chase Elliott fan, but I love SVG. I think that guy is funny. I don't know if you guys have ever just listened to his interviews or just listened to him talk, and there's some other things that I've seen on YouTube with him, but that guy's just hilarious, low key hilarious. He seems like a really good dude. He's respectful. I mean, he doesn't really have run-ins with other drivers. Like, he races with respect. The only driver he's really had run-ins with is Austin Hill, which, I mean, to be fair, I think a lot of people don't really care for Austin Hill. And as a fan, I don't care for Austin Hill. But Shane races with a lot of respect. He's still learning. I mean, he's improved a lot. I mean, the fact that he's even in the Chase discussion, given that we're, not doing winning in anymore, is incredible, because everybody thought, well, because it's not winning in and Shane can only run well and win at road courses, there's no way he can get to the top 16 in points. And he's 15th, plus 47 to the cut line. And he's been improving on ovals. And I know, yes, he has stinkers like this every now and again still, or maybe even a little more frequently than that. But the guy's a racer, and I think he's incredible. And I think he's going to figure it out. And honestly, when he does figure out the ovals, man, watch out. The only thing is, he is up there in age, from a racing standpoint. He's actually younger than me, but from a racing standpoint, he is up there in age. So any point in time that maybe a new driver might be up and coming. He could potentially be in danger. I mean, maybe not because he's going to be good for 2, 3, maybe even 4 wins a year just because of the amount of road courses that are on the schedule. So you never know. And plus, if the rumors are true that Connor Zilic may take over the 48 when Alex Bowman retires next year, then that probably takes some pressure off of SVG. I don't think anybody's up and coming anyways that would take a ride at Trackhouse right now. But if Connor really does move to Hendrick next year or after next year, then SVG I think would be more than fine. But he's figuring it out, and I think he's going to figure it out more. And I would not be shocked to see him win an oval. I'm going to say next season. I don't know that he could pull one off this year, but he might surprise us. I mean, he ran pretty well at North Wilkesboro, and there was another one recently. I can't remember which. I think it might have been Atlanta or something like that, Echo Park Speedway, where I thought for a minute he was gonna steal a win. Again, I don't remember if that was the particular race, but I remember watching one recently where I was like, he's gonna steal this win. I mean, he was running up front legit, but no one expects him to win on an oval. But it didn't happen, but it looked like it could for a little bit. So SVG, I'm a huge fan. But yeah, let's talk about the race winner, Ty Gibbs. Man, this kid, he's come a long way this year. His first few years in Cup were lots of ups and downs, as expected for a young driver. I mean, it's hard for these guys. I wouldn't know, but from what we've seen historically, especially in the last, decade, if not more, it's hard for these young drivers to make that leap to Cup. I mean, they could be so good in the lower series and then look super pedestrian in a Cup car. I mean, just look at Connor Zilic this year. Lit the world on fire in what was the Xfinity series last year, and then has had the worst possible season for a rookie season in the Cup car. And Gibbs had a similar thing happen with him where he was really dominant in the Xfinity series, won a championship, and then didn't really hit the ground running very quickly in Cup. But this year, man, he's just taken a huge leap forward. I think some of it was some team changes. I think he finally feels like, he said it multiple times, that he feels like that he's got a lot of support now, and just the whole team is supportive of one another. But we've also seen just a maturity in Ty Gibbs where he's not getting too emotional behind the wheel anymore. Used to, you would see him if something just wasn't going his way, and he would just tilt, and then make bad go to worse, So we're not seeing that as much anyways. I don't know that we haven't seen it at all since the changes, but we're definitely not seeing it as much. I got to fix some lighting here. 1 second. All right, that's better. But yeah, so Ty Gibbs just really coming a long way. I'm very impressed with the kid, and the maturity that he's shown. And now he's got 2 wins on the year. The first 2 of his career, one at Bristol earlier this year, and now follows it up with a win at Iowa today, holding off Christopher Bell, who I think was faster. And he made a valiant effort, but Gibbs did just enough to keep him at bay, didn't make really any mistakes. I mean, both cars were loose, and Gibbs was able to hold him off. But it was a heck of a show. I wasn't sure who I wanted to win. Part of me wanted Christopher Bell to win. I like Christopher Bell. I think he's a great talent, a great ambassador to the sport from what I've seen. Again, I'm not in the sport, right? But he just seems like an all-around Good guy for the sport. And man, Christopher Bell, second again. This is his, I believe, second place finish this year. And doesn't have any wins. I think the most, they showed a graphic on the broadcast, I think the most second place finishes in a season without a win was Kyle Larson back in 2018. So he was still driving for Chip Ganassi back then. So Bell's about getting to that point, and you could just see the disappointment in his post-race interviews. I saw a couple of them. The man wants to win. I mean, and of course he does. They all want to win, but he has the talent to be winning a lot of races. And so when you're not winning those races, and then your other Toyota teammates, not even just JGR teammates, but your other Toyota teammates are winning so many races, and you haven't even got one yet, it can be discouraging. I mean, all of his other JGR teammates have wins. Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, and of course Ty Gibbs. So you could just feel and see the frustration and the disappointment. He's going to break through though, and he's going to be a threat for the championship. I think, he's currently in 6th place. Only 4 points behind Chase Briscoe for 5th. So he's in that range of top 6 where, again, it's being said that that's probably about as far back as you can be and still realistically have a shot to win the championship. But honestly, I want to talk again more about Ty Gibbs. And is he a championship contender, like legitimately? I want to know what you guys think. Man, I'm going to say, yes, I absolutely think he's a legitimate championship threat. He's been pretty consistent this year. Obviously he's second in points. He's got 2 wins now. And again, we just don't see him exploding and tilting and making the mistakes that he used to make in the past. So I believe that Ty Gibbs can be a legitimate threat for the championship. I mean, honestly, it's probably going to come down to several Toyotas. I mean, I'm looking at these standings again, and 5 of the top 6 are Toyotas. The only one in there that's not is Ryan Blaney. So, I mean, we've known Toyotas have been fast all year. They've been winning a lot of races. But now we're starting to see them all literally rise to the top, where we didn't have that earlier in the year. You had a lot of other guys up there like Kyle Larson, like Chase Elliott, Carson Hocevar, Chevys, not really much Fords. I mean, Chris Buescher had been up there a lot throughout the season, but now it's starting to become evident that for sure Toyota, this is probably Toyota's championship to lose. They have some really great drivers running for the title. And, if it was just 1 or 2 Toyotas, it would not be a surprise to see Ryan Blaney or one of the Chevy drivers take the championship. But with so many Toyotas up there now, I don't see how a Toyota doesn't win the championship unless something crazy happens when the chase starts, which it can, right? I mean, people raise their game. I don't know how much cars could be different. Like back in the day, teams would save stuff for the playoffs or the chase. And, they weren't showing their best stuff. And then all of a sudden they're just like crazy fast and making a lot of points or winning races. And I don't know that you could see that these days because there's just so little that teams can do with the cars. They're in such a tight box with the next gen car. Not really a lot of adjustments that can happen. And I hope that changes in the future. I want to be able to see a little more ingenuity, so that way engineers and teams and drivers can make a difference. And instead of everybody's just driving the same car, so wherever you end up in line is where you're going to end up being. Of course, today we did see a lot of passing. So we do know that passing can happen, which I will say that's a positive, because normally in short tracks we have not been seeing a lot of passing. But I also know that Iowa is a really fast short track, so it's not quite the same as the other short tracks. I think that's why you could see passing, plus cars were out of control. And anytime cars are out of control, you're going to be able to see a lot of passing. So maybe it's not fair to compare that to the other short tracks and expect that all the other short tracks are going to put on really good racing like that. But I'd like to see more adjustments come back. I'm really excited to see that they're going to be giving some more practice coming up, starting with New Hampshire. It's not a lot. I don't know if it's gonna make a ton of difference, but I hope it's going in the right direction of getting more practice again. I like watching practice. Like, I remember first getting into the sport, it was a whole weekend affair. You had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and sometimes Thursdays because of trucks, and they would do things a day before their race. But you had practice, hours of practice. You had qualifying, then you had the races. And I know they say they got rid of a lot of that because of money and trying to control costs. But come on, those teams are spending that money anyways. I would like to see more practice again. So I'm excited to see that they're going to start doing at least a little bit more, starting with New Hampshire. I think that's going to allow some guys who really need the track time to get better, and then you might see more contenders. For me, it's not about seeing can someone get their car better in practice, because I don't know how much you really could get it better in practice, no matter how much practice you have, again, because the tight box that they're in for adjustments. But track time is so important, especially for a guy like Connor Zilic, who hasn't had a lot of track time because he's wrecked out early in a lot of races. So I think that's going to be a pretty big deal moving forward, and especially if they end up even doing more practice down the line. But we'll see how it goes. That was kind of a tangent, but it just came to my mind. So I wanted to talk about that for a minute. But again, Ty Gibbs, our winner today at Iowa, I think, again, he's a legit threat for the championship. He has probably been, outside of Denny Hamlin, one of the most consistent drivers on a weekly basis. So if anybody were going to beat Denny Hamlin, which, again, I think this is Hamlin's championship. We said it that last year. We've said it other years. Hasn't happened, but I think this is Denny's year. But if anybody's going to challenge him, I think you better keep a close eye on Ty Gibbs. He's coming. And if he doesn't win it this year, he's going to win championships in the Cup Series in the future. And I say championships, plural. I think he'll win multiple. We'll see. Time will tell. But I think he has a legitimate chance this year. He's obviously driving a Toyota. He's driving for Joe Gibbs Racing, who have the best cars right now. And I don't think that that's going to change as we get towards the chase and wind down the year. The Ford and Chevy teams just haven't shown anything at all to make me think that they're just all of a sudden going to flip a switch and then, challenge Toyota for wins, much less a title. So he's on the right team with the right manufacturer, and his teammates are good. He leans heavily on them. At least that's what he said. So I think he could easily win the championship this year. I say easily. It's going to be tough sledding because, again, I think Denny Hamlin is the guy to beat. And he has been all year, even when Reddick was winning a bunch of races. Let's just look at the stats. Denny Hamlin's average finish this year is 8.5. 8.5, guys. That is insanely good. 8.5. Now Gibbs, he's got a pretty respectable average finish as well. We'll just call it 12th. It says 12.045, but 12. So a 12th place average finish. That could be good enough to win a championship. Blaney's is a little better with 11. Reddick is just barely better, 11.8. But again, Reddick's been on a big slide. And I don't think he's going to turn that around. That team in general just hasn't shown that they've got all of it put together. They don't really do great on short tracks. Obviously, today was just a mistake that took Reddick out early, but they don't do well on short tracks, and we've got a couple more coming up in Richmond and New Hampshire. But also, they don't really dominate races, and I think to win the championship, you're just going to have to show that you are like fast all the time. I think he's actually fifth maybe in laps led, so fifth or sixth. So I mean, yeah, they're fast, but I just don't think that they're championship ready yet. He may get that one day, but I don't think they're ready yet. So Denny Hamlin is my pick to win the championship at this point in time, and I don't see that changing. I mean, something crazy, but he'd have to wreck out like the next 7 races or something in order for me to think that he couldn't win this championship. But yeah, I mean, it's getting interesting. I never would have thought Ty Gibbs would have got to second in points. All day long, I thought it was going to be Blaney, especially after Reddick's early crash, and then here comes Gibbs. So, but again, they're all very tight still. Only 17 points separate second through fourth in points. So, any one of those guys could still finish I'm still going to call it the regular season. Any of those guys can finish the regular season in second place. So, but how did you guys think the race went today? I mean, did you guys enjoy it? Was it what you want to see? Was it a good race? Was it kind of boring? What do you guys think? I'd like to know your thoughts on that. Like I said, I thought it was great. I was trying to look back in my notes. We did have a little bit of a lull. I know I mentioned this earlier today, but I was trying to find when that happened. Let's see. So we had, okay, yeah. So I had a note that right around the end of stage 2, things had kind of settled in. We saw a lot of action early. Like I said, a lot of loose race cars, some guys just spinning out. But then right around the end of stage 2, I guess everybody kind of figured out how much on edge they can drive the cars. And that's the thing about these guys. They're pros, so they figure it out. They figure out what they can and can't do. And so the race has settled in, and then from then on, we didn't really have much happening. And we had a lot of passing, don't get me wrong, but we didn't have much happening in terms of all of a sudden we stopped seeing guys spinning out on their own for the most part. But otherwise, I thought it was a great race. I thought it was very exciting. Obviously, the end was exciting because great battle at the end. But I thought overall the race as a whole was exciting. So again, I'd like to know what you guys think. If y'all thought the race was good or not, go vote on Jeff Gluck's good race poll. I've never done it before, but go vote on it. I would say it's a good race. In fact, I'm actually missing the teardown probably right now. I love watching that podcast. I watch it on YouTube. I love watching that podcast. But yeah, that's really my thoughts on the race today. It was obviously a lot of recap, but also just my reaction in general as a fan on his couch. And it's my first time doing something like this, and I'd like to come back and do it again. I believe next week the race is at Richmond, which is going to be interesting. The last couple of years, that has been Austin Dillon. For some reason, his name was escaping me. That's been an Austin Dillon type of race. He's won, yes, in controversial fashion 2 years ago, even though he was the guy that race, but then he backed it up last year. He ran really great today. I mentioned him earlier. He ran really well today. I think that you could easily see him get another win at Iowa. It would not Iowa. Iowa was today. I'm reading the results from today. I think he could very easily get another win at Richmond. He ran top 5, top 10 all day long. I think he even started in the top 10. Yeah, he started 7th, finished 10th. And that's a great shot in the arm for that organization, for RCR. And obviously I'm going to pull for them to win for a third time at Richmond next week. I just want to see that team be successful again, given all the things that they've gone through with the loss of Kyle Busch a couple months ago. I can't believe it's already been a couple of months, like 2.5 months. But even aside from that, which is tragic, that team's just struggled for a long time. And I think the sport would be better if RCR is competitive. And so I'm going to pull for Austin Dillon to win next week. I'm not an Austin Dillon fan, but I'm going to pull for him next week. But yeah, I think it's about time for me to wrap it up. It's been a great time being on here, just giving my thoughts on the NASCAR Cup Series race. I generally only watch the Cup Series, but maybe I'll get into at least doing a little bit of a recap and reaction on the trucks and O'Reilly series. I don't know. I don't really watch those much, but if there's any interest in that, maybe at least kind of sprinkle in some stuff on that. I mean, I'm a NASCAR fan through and through. I have been for as long as I can remember. And so I'm excited to be able to get on here and share my thoughts with you guys. Let me know, again, how you felt the race went. And, I'll definitely be back on next week to cover Richmond and then all the way through the end of the season. That's my plan. And then from there, we'll kind of see how it goes. But I'm gonna sign off for the night. I appreciate everyone that's watched this stream, and hope everyone has a great rest of your night. And we'll see you after Richmond.